This negligence is unacceptable. Your office is failing the homeowners, and we will not stand for it any longer.
The first siren whoop hit right as my coffee maker clicked on, and I stepped onto my porch into cold air that smelled like wet asphalt and burned toast from next door. At the curb, the HOA's private security cart sat with its blue lights flashing like I was some kind of criminal. Karen, our HOA president, stood in my driveway in a bright pink blazer, waving a clipboard. She slapped a bright orange notice on my mailbox and said loud enough for the whole street to hear that my lawn, my trash cans, and even my holiday lights were violations. Behind her, two board members filmed on their phones like they were starring in some budget reality show. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I was still in socks by the time the cold sank through my t-shirt. Karen was reading out fines. $100 for a garden hose. $50 a day for a kid's basketball hoop. A threat of a lien if I did not pay by May 3, 2024. She said the board had voted last night, and there was no appeal. The irony, of course, was that this whole mess would end when the HOA stormed the council hall porch at 6. Had no idea I am their city attorney. And that is really what this fight was about: power, rules, and who actually understood the law. I told her we needed to talk like adults. She smirked and pointed at the orange notice like it was a death sentence. I tried the polite route first. I went to the next HOA meeting in jeans and a hoodie, sat in the metal folding chair that wobbled, and waited my turn. I brought photos of my lawn, a copy of the rules, and even the old newsletter that praised my Christmas lights last year. When I spoke, Karen rolled her eyes and whispered to the treasurer. The rest of the room went quiet and stiff. My neighbors stared at the table, not at me. They were scared of her. She reminded everyone that the board had full authority and said, very slow, rules are rules. On the screen behind her, she pulled up a list of complaints with my name highlighted. Timeline item 1, April 5th at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. That was the night her friend called the police because my brother took the dog out. I felt my hands shake. I walked out before I said something I would regret. I in the car, with the smell of stale fast food and old coffee, I hit my line in the sand. I was not going to yell. I was not going to break anything. I was going to do what I did every day at work, but this time for myself. Use the proper channels. Follow the law better than they ever could. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. That simple line from a training I once gave floated back into my head. I opened my laptop that night and filed public records requests on every police call tied to our HOA address in the last year. When the response came, the file landed with 63 pages. I printed everything. Then I pulled bank records from our annual disclosures, the bylaws, and 3 years of newsletters. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. It looked like a receipts montage from one of those crime shows. Only this time the villain wore a pink blazer and carried a clipboard. Here's the part Karen never saw coming. Our city council had been planning a big public session about HOA abuse. As city attorney, I usually sit at the staff table in a suit, quiet, while everyone argues. I had already disclosed that I lived in this HOA and got cleared to speak as a citizen on this one agenda item. Everything was by the book. On the meeting notice, the items sounded boring. Discussion regarding enforcement practices of Maple Ridge HOA. But at 6:00 p.m. sharp, the council's porch and hallway filled with my neighbors. Some in work boots, some still in scrubs from the hospital. Karen marched up the steps with her board behind her like a little army. She did not even glance at the nameplates on the dais. She just stormed through the council hall porch at 6, waving her binder of fake violations, ready to demand more power. When the mayor called the item, Karen rushed to the podium and launched into a speech about lazy residents and dangerous trash cans. I watched her talk about me like I was a case file, not a person, and I waited. Then the mayor turned to the staff table and said, "Counselor, do you have anything to add?" Karen frowned, finally really looking at me. She saw the seal on the wall behind me. She saw my nameplate in front of me. Her mouth opened, then closed. I stood, walked to the projector, and connected my binder to the giant screen, one page at a time. Police logs showing 7 false calls in 1 month. Bank reports showing unexplained charges on the HOA card. That early morning trespass call for a dog on a leash. Each time I hit the next slide, the room got louder. Someone in the back whispered, "No way." Another neighbor held up his phone, already filming. The best part was how fast the energy flipped. The same neighbors who avoided eye contact at the HOA meeting were now lined up at the microphone, angry and shaking but brave. One nurse explained how she got a fine while working double shifts. A dad told the council that Karen threatened to tow his car for parking in his own driveway. The council listened. Our police chief, who had been quiet until then, stepped forward and said calmly that their officers had responded to multiple calls that looked like harassment. He used my binder and their own logs as proof. Online, the clips started spreading before the meeting even ended. My phone buzzed with links to a video titled HOA President Melts Down at City Hall. In the background, you could see her face when the council voted to refer everything to the city's code enforcement and the state HOA board. The authority shift was almost gentle, but it cut deep. The council passed a motion to audit our HOA, freeze any new fines, and require fresh elections supervised by a third party. The city's code inspector opened an investigation into those mystery charges. The state HOA board sent a letter that everyone in the neighborhood could read. Karen was removed as president within weeks. She lost her little audience, her clipboards, and her power to flash notices at dawn. She did not go to jail. Nobody hurt her. But her favorite weapon, fear, was gone. In the city file, our case was just one more example. But in our street, it was huge. Kids started leaving bikes in driveways again. Someone painted a tiny mural of a broken clipboard on the sidewalk near the mailboxes. At our first block party, an older neighbor pressed a plate of cookies into my hands and said, "Thanks for knowing the rules better than she did." I just laughed, breathed in the smell of burgers and fresh-cut grass, and thought about how different the porch felt now. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.